Steve Raberdeen supported me on Patreon at a rate which earned him a few reward videos. He requested I dedicate a Sunday stream to Suikoden, which I did early last year, and follow that with a video detailing my thoughts on the game once I completed it. I completed it. Here we are. I loved Suikoden. At least that's what I would have said had I played it back when it was new. But I did not play it when it released in the mid-90s. No, I played it last year, in 2025. A 30-year-old RPG. That's not just original PlayStation era, that's early original PlayStation era. Even so, despite its dated narrative and design, there's enough good stuff in there that I can confidently say I liked Suikoden. Man. If I had played it back when I was a teenager, I would have loved it. Sadly, after 30 years of refinements in game mechanics, storytelling, and my own taste in media, I'm left with a game I like, but more because I admire what it did for its time rather than enjoy what it is now. Let's start with narrative presentation. Suikoden's protagonist, Tyr McDowell, finds himself on the run when the evil Scarlet Moon Empire's evil court magician Windy targets him for the magic Soul Eater rune he inherited from his recently deceased childhood friend, Ted. Tyr catches the attention of Odessa, the leader of the Rebel Liberation Army, who convinces him the evil Empire's evil, actually. After Tyr rescues a few rebel allies from torture and death at the hands of the evil Empire, and secures blueprints for a weapon that will give the rebels a fighting chance against the Imperial Army, the evil Empire invades the Liberation Army hideout and mortally wounds Odessa. With her last breath, she passes the leadership mantle to Tyr, so he can build up the Liberation Army and unite the land against the evil Empire that oppresses it. You might hear that and say, well, that sounds like it's got potential. Yeah, tell me that story. And I'd say, I just did. Now, am I being reductive for humorous effect? A bit, yeah, but honestly, not much. One of the major issues I have with the game is the narrative unfolds like a story outline, moving from bullet point to bullet point with very little connective tissue between any of the plot beats. While the story's myriad conflicts are interesting and ripe with drama, most of them aren't set up properly. They often pop up out of nowhere, then are resolved immediately and rarely mentioned again. And while that's pretty typical of early video game storytelling, Suikoden does boast a bunch of small moments that really sing. Midway through the story, Gremio, who is essentially the protagonist's butler, wakes in the middle of the night and mopes that he no longer has any purpose, as his young master is his own man now and doesn't need him anymore. The very next day, he throws himself on a grenade, protecting Tyr and by extension the Liberation Army's efforts, proving that yes, he was still useful. Again, reductive for humorous effect, but pretty much what happens. Except the grenade is not filled with shrapnel, it's filled with flesh-eating spores. When Tyr goes back for Gremio, there's no body. All that remains are his clothes in a pile on the floor next to his battle axe. And damn! The storytelling might have been a bit slight, but visually, that is effectively horrific. I felt things. In another section, Tyr and his party reach Lorimar, a fortress that serves as a checkpoint between two regions. It is eerily quiet. There are no people about. And in the cemetery, in front of every headstone, is a hole. All the graves are open. Mass grave robbing? Or zombies? It's another genuinely great bit of visual storytelling that excites and intrigues, and the game is chock-a-block with little moments like that. Now let's talk gameplay mechanics. At its core, Suikoden has your basic turn-based RPG battle system. Your party of 6 faces off against an enemy party, and you each take turns attacking, defending, casting spells, or using items. As you adventure around the Empire, you keep on the lookout for people to recruit to your cause. Not just fighters, but people of all backgrounds and professions that can help staff up your home base. Managing an army requires a variety of disciplines from shipwrights to cooks, strategists, fishmongers, spies, thieves, blacksmiths, even people to manage your supplies warehouse, library, and landscaping. That said, if you want to put the laundry lady on the front lines of your battle party, you can. Which is one of the selling points of this game. In all, there are 108 Stars of Destiny you can welcome into the Liberation Army, and while they all have a role to play in the day-to-day operations of the Rebel Army's headquarters, not all of them are suited for active combat. But this is where some of the more unique elements of Suikoden's battle system comes in. Certain combinations of allies can perform special unite attacks. So, while you may think it silly to fill 4 of your 6 slots with your blacksmiths, and frankly none of them are that great combatants individually, but together, they offer a pretty high damage attack. There are also unite spells. If you staff your party with magic users of specific elemental combinations, you can go Scorched Earth on the baddies. Suikoden also does something neat with its 2 rows of 3 battle formations. Party members who use fists or daggers tend to hit the hardest, but can only reach the enemy's front line from their own front row. Long-range attackers, such as archers and mages, can hit anyone, from anywhere, but tend to be the squishiest, so are usually better off in the back row where they're less likely to take a wallop. So, while you can fill your party's available slots with nothing but your hardest punching brawlers, some of them are going to end up in the back row unable to hit anything. Combine that with the fact that the story often dictates who's filling at least 2 of your slots, and there's some fun strategy to employ when selecting party members. As mentioned, there are 108 Stars of Destiny you can conscript for battle, and they all need to be individually leveled. Their individual weapons need to be individually upgraded, and they need to be individually equipped with armor, and helmets, and shields, and 2 accessories. And different characters have different restrictions on what they can equip. Plus, each character needs to be individually equipped with an orb that grants them special moves or spells. And their weapons need to be individually equipped with runes that alter stats or augment them with elemental attributes. Oh, and there's no shared item inventory. Each individual character has their own individual pockets. So, if you need a specific item, you need to figure out who's holding it and hope it's not in the possession of someone you just removed from your party. It's a lot. Not necessarily a bad thing, just a lot. And for many gamers, that level of micromanaging can help play into the fantasy of overseeing an entire resistance movement. Unfortunately, Suikoden's user interface is not quite up to the challenge. It's not unusable, and there are many nice quality of life options, like the ability to strip an out-of-party member's equipment and items and send them to the central storage area. But managing the stats, equipment, and inventories of your enormous roster is a colossal pain in the ass. In fact, it's cumbersome to the point that I imagine most players will simply pick a few favorite characters and focus on them to the exclusion of dozens and dozens of others, missing out on fun interactions, animations, and the aforementioned unite attacks and spells. But even then, despite this 30-year-old game having some narrative and UI issues, Suikoden does something better than any other RPG I've played. It makes me feel like I'm actually in charge of an army. In most RPGs, you save the world with a small band of scrappy, chosen one heroes. Even tactics RPGs like Ogre Battle, Fire Emblem, and Unicorn Overlord, despite their comparatively large casts, still feel like the war is won due to the efforts of a few dozen individuals. While the bulk of Suikoden's gameplay features a small party of 6 of your heroes tackling various quests, it's all in service of pitting your fledgling Liberation Army against the larger, better equipped and trained armies led by the renowned generals of the evil Empire. At several points in the game, there are outright army battles, pitting the thousands of soldiers you're in charge of against an even larger force. Now, many of the 108 heroes you've collected are there and play a role, but the focus is on the nameless soldiers who fight and die for your cause. It's super cool, and it really goes a long way to making you feel like your army matters, not just the 108 so-called Stars of Destiny. Sadly, though, the battle mechanics are a bit too simple for its own good and boil down to a simple game of rock, paper, scissors. Infantry beats archers, archers overcome magic, and magic thwomps infantry. Thankfully, there is a bit more to it than that. The different Stars of Destiny can offer different advantages. Strategists can buff your infantry, merchants can bribe enemy soldiers to fight for you, and ninjas can pilfer the opposing army's battle plans so you know the best way to counter and don't accidentally send your Dragon Knights swooping down into a hail of deadly arrows. That's all super cool. I just wish there were more of it. Luckily, there's one more battle type Suikoden has on offer. Duels. At a few points in the story, you will have to face down an enemy one-on-one. It's cool, it's dramatic, and it's a shame, because again, mechanically, it's just rock, paper, scissors. Shoot, I don't want to end on a negative. Suikoden does a great job of adapting its various locations into explorable dungeons. There are the expected caves, sewers, and dark forest paths, but there are also Some Guy's Manor, a war-ravaged ghost town, and the castle you actually start the game in. I thought that was really neat. So, yeah, while I am quite critical of a lot of elements of Suikoden, I did like the game and enjoyed my time with it. It genuinely does a lot of very cool things, maybe not entirely successful things, but it definitely sports a solid foundation for a sequel to capitalize on, and I'm encouraged by the fact that Suikoden 2 came out 3 years later, enough time to evaluate what worked and what didn't in order to create a worthy follow-up that improves and expands on the best elements of the original. Fingers crossed. Thanks again to Steve Raberdeen for his super generous support. As soon as I finish Trails of Cold Steel 2, I'll dedicate the subsequent Sunday stream to Suikoden 2 and be back with my thoughts on that, hopefully sometime before the end of the year.